This is how you make the ultimate pasta dish with seared scallops. Let me show you how. All right, so we'll start with our 000 typo and fresh semolina flour using our fresh pasta dough. We're gonna be doing fettuccine today. So on each 100 grams of flour, we'll be using 1 egg. So we'll be doing 200 grams of fresh semolina. We'll do a small puddle just in the center. Same thing we'll be doing with our 000 flour, adding 200 grams just in the middle. And then our next step, we'll be adding 4 fresh cracked eggs. We'll be doing 4 eggs. Make sure you don't have any shells in there before you continue. A little bit of salt just in the center. And our next step will be using a fork to whisk the center and then combining and incorporating slowly all the ingredients together to form that shape of the pasta ball. We're using the Dalstrong black fork. So you'll want to incorporate slowly by whisking the center of the batter over here. It is a 5 to 6 minute process. Take your time. You want to make love to your pasta and delicious at the end. Okay, once you see it thickening it up, I would recommend start using your hands. Go in with your hands, fold it in. We're kneading the dough, incorporating all that flour and fresh semolina into that. It will be taking like 3 to 5 minutes to do that. Make sure it all comes together. And then after that, when it's done, you want to put it to rest. When it's ready, we basically will put it in a mixing bowl with a nice damp cloth on top so it doesn't dry up. That's the only secret when it's ready. So every pasta dish needs a perfect sauce. We'll be using the Dalstrong Gladiator Santoku 7-inch knife. We'll be using that to chop our zucchinis, our fresh basil. I'm gonna have fresh thyme. By starting heating up the pan, we'll add some extra virgin olive oil, let it heat up. We'll start by our 2 fresh zucchinis, beautifully slicing scale, very sharp edges, cutting it with precision, letting this saute for about 2 to 3 minutes or until golden brown, I would say, each to his own stove, of course. Our next step will be, of course, chopping a little bit of the fresh thyme, adding some flavor and aromatics to the dish. A pinch of salt. Of course, you can add more salt with your preference of flavor. You want it more salty, less salty, each to his own. All right, so while our zucchinis are getting roasting, of course, we'll open some white wine, add it to the pasta dish, let this all saute, and we'll be preparing our next step, which is the Parmesan cream foam. We'll be adding on top of the beautiful dish to have it a little bit more elevated, a little bit more fine. We'll be using Dalstrong microfiner, shaving some fresh Parmigiano right here in the center. You'll be incorporating that with some heavy cream, transferring into a whipped cream bottle. All right, so now the zucchinis are all perfectly cooked. We'll be transferring them to a small skillet on the side here, yet preserving all the flavors and all the juices in here. Adding 35% cream. We'll be adding a little bit of pinch of salt in there, letting this reduce with this Parmesan grating that we just made. While this all incorporated and the Parmesan is blended with the cream, we will transfer this to one of those canisters, filling this in with some CO2 and create that Parmesan foam that we were talking about. So our next step will be searing some fresh baked scallops. You want to pat the scallops dry with a paper towel to absorb all the liquid and moist. You want to season both sides with fresh ground pepper and a little bit of coarse salt. A little bit of salt. You want to repeat this on both sides. You want to make sure you have a very hot skillet with olive oil in it. You got to be careful, known to burn your fingers, but you want to lay them just like that. Let them sizzle and make sure you cook them 3 minutes on each side. Let them rest, and then we're gonna add them as a protein to our pasta dish. All right, so we have our fresh pasta dough here. With the nikiri knife, we'll be slicing it. Oh wow, look at this. We just made fresh pasta, guys. We'll be doing a couple of these, setting the knife aside. You wanna press down so it's really thin, so it's easy to put through the pasta roller. You wanna make sure it's nice and thin so it doesn't get stuck, it doesn't tear it apart to sheet pieces. You wanna be basically using setting number 1 and slowly, gradually going to step 2, 3, 4, getting to that desired thickness so we can cook it to an al dente form. Okay, so now we have this beautiful pasta. So basically what we'll be doing, we'll be folding the pasta sheet in this type of form, and we'll be cutting it into strings to your desired thickness, just like that. And then we wanna dust some flour so it doesn't stick to the pan while the water is boiling. We want to make sure we put the pasta in there, and as you can see, these beautiful strings of pasta are ready for us, and we'll be putting it in the water. Now always make sure to salt your water, very important. So now the pasta is cooked, we give it in that al dente form. We're gonna be taking it out from the pasta water, transferring it to our saute pan with our zucchinis. We're gonna toss that all together for a few minutes, and then we'll be started plating. Our next step, which is the final step, plating. We're gonna be using our Dalstrong Shogun Santoku knife 7-inch for our next garnish presentation. Cut some fresh basil. Look at this, I didn't even touch, and it's already slicing Look at this, fantastic. Adding some fresh basil to the pasta dish, adding that fragrance, that aromatic to elevate the dish. We will be using this beautiful titanium Dalstrong tweezers to plate. You wanna make sure that you collect all of that beauty, and then you put it just nicely in the center. We'll be using the Dalstrong microblader to add a little bit more parmesan on top. Remember those scallops, we'll be cutting them just like that, beautifully cooked, placing them all over the dish. And now the finale, our foam. Look at this beautiful thing. Voila. This is your beautiful dish. Buon appetito. And this is how you make the perfect pasta dish.